what you're making the point there is that the argument from the lack of evidence, absence of evidence, is not does not directly mean that no Jesus existed. However, there are some things that we can apply that evidence of absence or absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The absence of evidence argument too, such as different things like string theory or any scientific theory that we kind of feel like we're approaching, such as the God particle, things like that. At one time, there was no evidence for it, and we need to go ahead and clarify now that there are some things that we don't have evidence for, but we have good reason to believe. Did you want to touch on that?
Well, the reason that we have good reason to believe these things is because we make these predictions, and we make these predictions based on our theories, and if they hold true, then it's reasonable to suspect these particles or whatnot. It's reasonable to think that they exist. You can't assert that they exist for certain until you actually prove them to exist. But if you make predictions, and those predictions turn out to be true, then that means that there is something to the theory. And even when those predictions fail, even if they don't totally fail, then that tells you something new about this particle, or it tells you something new about your theory. Then you can go back and rework it. Now, how this could apply to Jesus is that, you can make predictions about what you would expect out of history, as far as you can make predictions as far as what would you expect historians to record from Jesus. Now, you wouldn't expect them to record his exact lifetime, or anything like that, but you would expect them to record stuff like when he was born. The Gospels themselves are very fuzzy on both his birth and his death. Birth has a 10-year fuzzy field of when he could have been born, because he was either born in the reign of King Herod, or he was born sometime 10 years after that. And then around his death, the Gospels, like the Gospel of John, has him dying on a completely separate day than the other three Gospels. And also, Gospel of John has his ministry lasting like a good 2 years longer than the other Gospels. So there's a good difference in when Jesus could have died. And so there's a fuzzy line there, there's a fuzzy line there. Now, you have to go through Jesus's narrative and pick out the points where you can predict that historians would have recorded something, and that would be things like him casting out the money changers, because the temple where he casted out the money changers wasn't like this small thing. It was a really huge temple. I mean, it was huge. I mean, 35 football fields, huge. That's how big it was. And so it's more likely that he led a small force of bros in there to knock over the money changers and cast them out, rather than him going there with his Chuck Norris beard and just totally demolish them. So as far as how all this relates back to science and whatnot, just to recap, that you can make predictions using your theories, and if those predictions come out correct or whatnot, then you know that your theory is correct, or it holds true to reality. But if it's not, then it tells you something else about that theory.